Hello, freak bitches.
I've heard like people, particularly like left-wing leaning feminists or like so female comics who are feminists, who I know several of.
How dare you?
And I've yes, I know.
You calling people out? Calling them out without calling them out?
Not by name, but
Okay.
but I've heard, and they'll get very and one of them said to me once, they go, Dave, your whole thing is just that you hate women.
Oh, that's
and you're
adorable.
Like, but it's like, hate women? Like, what do you?
I saw a woman say that to Brian Posehn, and you know what he said? It was hilarious. He goes, you know what? I've heard that before, and every woman that said that I hated.
That really is a great response.
Because it was a stupid argument.
It is.
She was just like saying, like, in a blanket statement, you hate women. No, you.
But I just go, I challenge a lot of people on the left who talk about race or sexism and these things. I just challenge you to just entertain the possibility for like 1 second. Entertain the possibility that you're not right about all of this stuff, and that the correct position is to treat everybody equal. Now, I know that sounds really, really wild and out there, and I'm not taking into account my white privilege and the history, but just entertain for 1 second the possibility that the correct answer is to treat everybody equal and not judge them based on their race. And then if you entertain that for 1 second, you'll start realizing like, oh, holy shit, if that's true, I'm really the one being the bigot here. I've seen this, so like if you know the roast battle shows they have down at the Comedy Store here,
Sure.
those have, and they started doing them in New York too now. They're really popular. There are like these group of female comics that will come out, and I don't even begrudge them for this, but they'll come out and just hardcore like root for the female comic.
Okay.
Like they'll post about like, just want to see more women succeed at roast battle, coming out tonight to cheer on my girl, blah, blah. And there'll be this dynamic where like their first two jokes, they'll just get this like, it's just like, female voices from the corner where the comics hang, like super, super loud for the chick comic. And like, whatever, I don't begrudge them anything. Like, fine, come do that. But it's just like those same people who will be like, you're like against women. Like, I would never in a million years go out to a show and be like, I'm just rooting for the men today. Like I don't think this way. I'm not like on team man, but you are on team women. Like it's just it just seems to me that there's a lot of that going on. You know what I mean? A lot of that shit where it's like you kind of project this thing that you see racism everywhere or you see sexism everywhere, but all I really see is you fucking lecturing people based on race and sex.
Well, in their mind, they're allowed to do it the same way Cain Velasquez is allowed to have brown pride in his chest.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. Like you're disenfranchised or you're marginalized, so you're allowed to stay. Even if you're not, you're playing that victim card as a woman, and you're allowed to say, I'm here to support my girl. Like I was talking about this on stage the other day. I saw a bumper sticker on a car. It said, girls kick ass. And I was like, some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are lazy slobs. Like, what are you going to align yourself with 150 million women just in this country alone? That's ridiculous. And I was saying, if a guy had a bumper sticker that said, boys kick ass, he'd be like, follow that guy and find out where he's been fucking these kids. Because first of all, you'd never say boys. Boys kick ass. You put that on your bumper sticker. Who the fuck are you? You'd pull him over. Let me see your license. Where do you live, man? What do you do for a living? What's that bumper sticker about? What the fuck do you mean by that?
Yes. And I don't need, like, I almost feel like an asshole sometimes where I preface everything with a disclaimer, like, and I'm not saying this, and I'm not, but I just want it to be clear that, like, I'm not saying there aren't exceptions to the rule, but it's also kind of strange to me that, like, if you want to celebrate women, why are you celebrating such a masculine quality? Like, it's kind of like, it's like, look, there are white players who are great basketball players, right? Dirk Nowitzki was an amazing basketball player. Right. But if I just wrote somewhere like, white people kick ass at basketball, it's like, well, actually,
this is a movie
they
coming
don't
out.
in general. Women don't kick ass in general. Generally speaking, that's a male thing to do.
Right.
So, like, I'm not saying there's not exceptions to that, but you're writing white people kick ass at basketball. It's kind of misleading.
Right. Well, there's that thing that's coming out, that movie with Steve Carell, where he plays that man who had the tennis match against Billie Jean King, and he was like barely ranked. He was a terrible tennis player, and he fucked Billie Jean King up, and he was like sort of mocking her the whole way, and it was like a real hallmark moment.
I don't know about that. Oh, really? So he just played a female tennis player?
A professional tennis player, but he wasn't the best. And Billie Jean King was the best woman in the world. Mm-hmm. And they played, and the Steve Carell character beat her. Wasn't that what happened? I believe that's what happened. I'm getting them conflated with Renee Richards, the guy who used to be a man and then became a transgender woman and started stomping everybody in tennis. He was like terrible as a man, and then he became a woman who was one of the best in the world. And like, but there's no biological difference. Even without a penis, you're still stomping them.
It again is like so funny because once it's so funny like how much this stuff starts undermining their own arguments.
Billie Jean King won?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that wrong.
So I got wrong the Renee Richard one. Yeah, that's what I confused. So, what was and he was like particularly gross, right? And Steve Carell plays him really well in the movie. Same Steve Carell who played that crazy guy in that wrestling movie.
He did a really great job with that.
The
What a
Pond?
creepy story.
What a crazy story.
You ever see
that
the
was.
ESPN 30 for 30 on
Yes,
that?
I did.
So good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not good in the sense that the story's
So
not
well
good,
done.
but such a compelling, unbelievable story. Oh my God.
Yeah. So when Steve Carell played that character, and then you watch the video of the actual character, they're like, whoa, like he just nailed that guy.
Yeah, Steve Carell's an incredible talent,
Oh,
man.
he's such a good fucking actor.
To be
man.
that funny of a comedian and that good of a dramatic actor is
Yeah.
fucking pretty incredible. I guess his comedy though is always kind of his acting, you know, is like that's his strength in comedy. Like he'd own that character,
Right.
kind of, you know.
Well, Roger Federer said that recently, and he got in trouble, right? That the best women.
No, it was
Roger Federer.
it was what's his
It
name,
was
the
that
older
other
guy.
Right.
Fuck, what's the
John
old tennis player?
McEnroe.
McEnroe, yeah, yeah.
McEnroe said that.
And they
the
let
best-
him. They let him into it. He said he started by saying Serena was the best female player.
Right.
And then they go, why female?
Oh well.
And he was like, well, what do you mean? Because I think she's the best female player. He goes, well, why female? Why not say male? He goes, because the men are way better. Like he was literally just answering the question. Like
I know.
I started off giving this woman an extraordinary compliment.
That was the story I remember. Didn't Serena play against an unranked male player?
She
Yeah.
did. They used to play when they were younger, I think. And,
She played against some guy. That was
Yeah.
the story, and the guy kicked her ass, and everybody was like, "What?"
It just
Yeah.
seems to me to be this thing where I kind of look at, obviously, like, we're talking at generalizations here, and there are exceptions. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are, like, you know, Ronda Rousey could beat the shit out of me. Well,
you're not a
I still
fighter,
use
though.
her as an example.
But it's a bad
No,
example
but I'm
'cause
just
you're
saying,
not a fighter.
No, but I'm just making the point that, like, if you have this stereotype that men are stronger than women or something like that, there are exceptions to
Right.
the rule. If you get, and there are, and I still use Ronda Rousey even though she's not champ anymore. She's just
Right.
still got that ring to it. But I'm saying there are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions, and to treat someone based on a group dynamic is ignorant. Like but if you're going to, like, I do think there are differences between men and women, generally speaking, and if you believe that. It's like if we're going to celebrate women, I just think it's kind of odd that we have to celebrate the most masculine achievements of women. It's like celebrating them kicking ass. There are these things that I feel like women are superior to men in, that I'm very impressed by them. Like, I just think
Well, wait
women...
a minute. Hold on. Let me stop you. Because you think that running a corporation is masculine? Like, do you think that being involved in any creative endeavor is masculine? Do
No.
you think that being involved in anything in tech is masculine?
No.
But that's what they're talking about,
Well,
right?
I was more responding to the women kick ass.
Maybe that's just a stupid bumper sticker.
No, you're right,
But
it
it's
is.
really
But-
just groupthink is
but I
what
think-
my
so-
issue with it was.
If you see things like but the element I'm responding to is that kick ass to me just
Right.
seems to be kind of like a masculine thing. I'm describing that as masculine.
Yeah, it was just one silly, stupid bumper sticker.
Sure,
but girls
but I'm-
like to say those things, right?
Yes, but I just think there's something about it. It seems to me like the nurturing element of femininity is almost like denigrated, and the ass kicky element is praised. Where it's
Right.
like if I'm talking kicking ass and nurture, and I'm talking men versus women in general, just broad speaking,
Right.
like I tend to think of one being male and one being female.
Right. To wrap this all up and bring it all down, I think we'd all be better off, male, women, white, black, Asian, whatever, if we're just reasonable, nice people, you know? And that's the real problem, is that we lock off, as we've been discussing all day, into these camps.
Yeah.
And we are on camp white male, and we are on camp black male, or camp gay, or camp transgender, or camp woman. And we just lock into these ideologies, and we hate anybody else different. And we have these divisive things that we say, like all white men are trash unless proven otherwise. You know, like that kind of crazy shit. Like you're setting it up so the guy's like, sorry. Like you come in sorry. So it's
Yeah,
not me. I didn't
yeah.
do it. Instead of just being a reasonable, normal person. But there's not enough reasonable, normal people. So women are constantly dealing with assholes. So they develop these kind of patterns of behavior. They think about men as being these intrusive, shitty people who just want to get in your pants and really don't care about you, and they're manipulative and they just want to fuck you.
Which is,
Right.
when you say it, I mean, that is somewhat true. That does
Somewhat
kind
true.
of describe us.
And then men think of women as being manipulative too, always looking for the bigger, better deal. You know, well, they're going to fuck their personal trainer while you're at work, and
No,
we think
you're
about
right.
getting divorced and losing all your money because you were too stupid. You didn't sign a prenuptial agreement. She hires some kick-ass attorney, and then you're fucked. We all know guys who have experienced that before too. She lies about you beating the kids, and then she
Right.
gets full custody.
Like, that's all real, but then
Right.
the good stuff is all real too.
all
You know what I
real.
mean? It's like
Across
that's
the
all
board.
real and that does happen, but then there's also like the chick who just like gives a guy like, you know, like like the security and confidence he never had to go be great. There's the guy who like does support his chick through like her endeavors, and like, you know, it's like, so it's like you got to, you know, it's like that shit in the hurricane in Houston kind of put some perspective on that for me, where it's like, you know, it's like you see just like all these people, it's like Antifa versus Nazis is the state of the country, and then you see like this horrible hurricane happen, and just the acts of kindness afterward. You see these people like young guys, like these group of like 20-year-olds maybe they were, I saw, who took their motorboats down to Houston and are pulling old people out of like their homes, and you're like, God damn it, motherfucker, like that's our country too. You know, and like it's all real. Like the Nazis are our country too, but that guy's our country too.
That is also is people responding to a very real problem where it really unites people. They feel like they have to help each other.
Because it's a real problem, you know.
Most of the time we're separated from each other by buildings and cars, and there's this weird alienation we have with one another.